Well, it's been a long time. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Radio. It's actually been since February since we did our last show, so it's been a little while. We've had a lot of stuff going on, so
we've been busy.
We've been busy, but anyway, we're back. Here we are live. We're gonna try to keep it up as much as we can here over the next few weeks. So with no delay, we've got with us our social media producer, Barb Kalicki.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Barb. The man in the shadows with the DVD collection, Risky Business.
What's up? Let's get technical. These are Blu-rays.
Oh, well
No,
then.
not Laserdisc.
No.
How dare us?
Who watches DVDs?
I should know that, as I also have my own Blu-ray collection. My apologies.
My movie snobbery.
Yeah. And what's up?
I was saying, you trying to watch Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion later, or what?
I mean, if it's on Blu-ray, how can I say no?
Let's get down.
Risky, what's the one movie that's not on Blu-ray yet that you're looking forward to?
Cemetery Man.
All right.
And what's that about?
It's about a guy who falls in love with corpses in a cemetery.
Oh.
That's interesting, Risky. Thank you for sharing.
Good horror stuff.
You decided to ask the follow-up question, Barb. That's all
I did. It was my own fault.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as Necromantic or any of those, but it's pretty rough.
Yeah. Let's continue our introductions.
It's a comedy.
So let's continue our introductions here. We've got Midway producer and DJ Sean Doe.
What's up, everybody? Glad my segue was after Risky's Cemetery Man.
Good movie. I do have it on DVD. I'm forced to watch it in SD. It's terrible.
Yeah. I don't know how to follow that up. Anyway, our guest for the night is Rich Jones. Rich, how are you? Thank you for coming on the show that this is, kind of.
So great to be a part of this. You know, I can be at home eating matzah in bed. You know, taking it super easy. You know, this is not a deal at all. It's great.
It makes a difference when when we ask people to be on the show, because exactly, you can do it from the comfort of your own studio or home or couch or wherever you want to do it.
It's pretty casual, and I can appreciate.
I think Ed too was coming to us live from his car.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wasn't he in front of like a Dunkin' Donuts or something?
Could have been. Yeah. So anyway, guys. What have we been doing here over the last couple of months? We've been doing some events with Google.
Yeah. And
we've been continuing some interviews. And we've been doing some other things that we can't quite say yet, but soon. Let's run down a list of some people that we've talked to since the last show. So we got some more great names checked off of our list for the film and for the archive. And the first one is Young Chop.
That was a good interview.
Young Chop was really good. Got a lot.
That was a really good interview.
Yeah, a lot of good information out of him as far as like the drill scene, but then really like his insight in production, which was super ingenious. It was good to sit with him and kind of pick his brain. And again, the technical way he attacks production and the way he described it blew my mind. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely learned some really cool stuff with him. For sure. Following that, we did Zulu King, Shaka, and Space Cowboy from Tidal Wave.
Yep, legendary Tidal Wave crew. Early, almost precursor to B-Boy crew. They were they became that, but they started off as a popping crew, and they were very important in the early onsets of Chicago dance.
Yes. Farilla G, aka Don Farilla. We got him next, and he's got It's an interesting story. Would one of you two care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, he. Some might consider him the first, I guess, Chicago gangster rap release. What would be kind of categorized in that genre, right? But it came out in '89, and he had, his story is interesting because he kind of truly lived that lifestyle. Not but a couple months after that release, he spent was it 13 years? Ryan, did he spend?
Yes.
Yeah, 13 years in federal prison. He kind of got sucked up in that wave when the Bush era war on drugs came in and started sweeping everything and trying to crack down on the drug war. He was kind of he was got sucked up in all that. So he spent a good amount of time away, but he came back and he published a book. Which,
I was gonna say,
I read the book.
Yeah, and you still have the book, which is why I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
But how was the book? What kind of stuff does it talk about? Is it strictly?
The book was great. It really it described what was going through his head, why he was doing the things he was doing, and how he was doing things, the way he saw himself in the community, and it's really good. Like, it's obviously a biography, but it talks about it's half gangster and half music, talking about like this lifestyle that he lived. And it's when you walk away from it and you understand him a lot more, but then at the same time, I feel like if young people were to read this, they would learn a lot of lessons that would turn them away from a certain lifestyle.
He said did he say he knew that they were watching him, Risky?
Yeah, no, he knew exactly. Like, he was going up. He says it was like he felt he was like he described it in the book like one of the, I can't remember which movie, but like when maybe it was like Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, when in Beverly Hills Cop, when he's running up to Taggart and he's knocking on the window and he's like, "Hey guys," and he would literally walk up to the feds and knock on the window and be like, "What's up? Like, I'm going here. You want to follow me over here?"
Right.
Yeah. And and then he ended up doing the Ferrilogy character. Basically, he created this Ferrilogy rapper and did this whole the stuff that was in it was to throw the feds off. He really wrote this rap album in order because he knew the feds would listen, to throw the feds off.
Right.
Didn't end up working, but that's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, and it was another. I mean, it's just another one where that he's not necessarily a household name, especially to kind of just the general music or hip hop audience. Right. But it's another one that was just a really interesting interview, an interesting story, and I mean,
that's why we're doing the film, because he's iconic, and no one knows why he should be iconic. Right. The reasons why the first the things he did were he was first to do certain things, and a lot of people don't know, the people from that era, but a lot of the young kids don't know, and that's the whole point of our film and the archival project.
I mean, like you said, man, his story is so needs to be told, because maybe like a young person could get a hold of it and understand why they shouldn't do the things that.
Man, his story is so Chicago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there's a Ferrilogy every year in every neighborhood.
It's probably every week in every neighborhood. So
then we followed that up with Noble Drew from the Beat Monsters.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yes.
That was really good. Another important person who did his story is important. He threw on the Jimmy Het Fest, which was one of the first major shows. And, we partner with Columbia, and Columbia is such a, a hip hop, it's known as a hip hop school. Yeah, historical hip hop school. Wouldn't you say, Rich?
Yeah, I would definitely say.
And you know, their first probably landmark like movement into hip hop was the Jimmy Hat Fest, which was thrown by Noble Drew. So that's why I definitely outside of other things he did that's important as far as production and rap, the Beat Monsters themselves, and his connection to Blase Blah and all that. Outside of all that, that show is a very important, iconic moment.
That it is.
I think it's Juice's first live performance in Chicago too at that show.
Tomby Nimble's first performance also.
Yes.
Then we went to we did a little trek out west and met up with DJ Immaculate and Rec Center.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's another good. I mean, I guess it's very hard pressed for us to say it's bad when you're a fan, right? Like, of course, you'd never say like, it was okay, it's good, but no, we can honestly say these are all so good. You get so much information. I can't wait to start putting this stuff out and sharing this information the same way we're receiving it. Yeah, and you know, Emac is he's a smart dude, and he's a really well organized, not just a producer, but you can tell like his production skills translate into the way he carries himself and the way he manages, you know, and takes care of like the crew and Rec Center and of course Maintain and everybody and Theo and all those guys. They're very animated and they tell great stories.
Yep. They're working on new music, right?
Yeah.
They are. The first time in a long time that that main lineup is all back together. So. And another big thing about Rec Center is, you know, the Woods have always played a direct connection to Chicago hip hop, but always maintained their own identity as a suburb, like the Bellwood area. That being said, Rec Center is one of the first groups. I can't say necessarily the first, but one of the first groups, probably the first group to make that sizable impact for a far west suburb group, right? And coming from Elgin, and really, you know, you have other groups now that come out of those areas that are able to they kind of laid groundwork for them to be able to do things, and they just didn't give a shit. So they'd come in the city like they owned it, and everyone showed them respect. Yep. Followed them up with one of the few female promoters here in the city, Lady Gemstar, which is cool because obviously she adds a completely different perspective than some of the people, especially because she's a little bit newer to doing things. But she's having a lot of good success in what she's doing. Absolutely. Now, Prime Meridian was the legends themselves. Finally got them in. They've been on the list for a long time, and yes, been trying to coordinate with them. DLJ and DJ Spin were our last two. DJ Spin gave us 200 interviews exactly thus far. So,
damn.
Yeah, right.
It was cool to catch up with Spin. I know can't speak for you guys, but I know that I haven't talked to Spin in a long time, so it's cool to catch up with him. Yeah, he was a mentor for me.
Same
when
here.
I was first coming on, he was a big mentor for me. So it was really good for me to have a chance to have him part of this, because he's another dude that's an older guy that was always a part of everything and doing things. And sometimes, especially with a name like Spin, a lot of people have the name Spin, so they can get confused, right? Like everybody's like a DJ Spin or something. With so many DJs in Chicago now, so these younger cats, like, to me, it'll only be one DJ Spin, right? When there's like 50 of them out there now, but people get confused, and I'm like, no, this is DJ Spin, and then I'm able to kind of like tell his story, which was huge.
Yeah. And then in the middle there was Mr. Rich Jones.
Yeah, that was super fun.
So
yes,
thank you for coming through. And before we get into you, I do want to say that too. So since our last show, we've done 2 talks with Google, here out of the Chicago offices. And the first thing that we did was with most of us here and a few other ones on the Midway production team, talking about the film and just kind of what the project means and how we're going about it and everything like that. And the second one, we did a great graffiti panel, and we had on the panel for that one, we had Slang, Trickster, Severe, Revise, and Miguel K1 was our host for that. And I mean, thank all of them for coming through. There's a little incident that happened following that, which unfortunately led to the delay of our third talk. But the third talk is coming up. I know a lot of people have still been asking about it, if that's going to happen, and it is. And that's going to be the Women in Chicago Hip Hop panel. We don't have a specific date for that yet, but I will say that it is coming. So just kind of stay tuned for that. And the first two talks should be up pretty soon on Google's site and on YouTube and everything for people to watch for those that couldn't make it. So kind of be on the lookout for that. So yeah, with no delay, Rich, man, thank you for taking the time to join us. I know you're busy in the studio right now. So
man, no worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what are you working on right now? What's you got? Is it a specific project in mind, or you just kind of in right now, just kind of doing what you can?
Well, I mean, as with a lot of periods after you've put something out, in terms of finding the next direction or whatever, that can be a little tumultuous. So I've been kind of just trying to get back to basics and kind of just be recording stuff without any direct intention attached to it. But I know right now I'm currently finishing up an EP with the producer Walking Shoe, which we're hoping to put out in the fall. Also working on something with the producer Vaporize from Push Beats. He sent me just a whole batch of stuff, and I'm just kind of the way I'm working with it is sitting down with it at my friend's studio and then just calling people up and seeing who can come through and who I think makes sense for certain records. So, thus far we've been getting some interesting people on there. I won't exactly say names just yet, but let's just say there'll be some interesting features of people working together, and I think it'll make it nice, unique. Plus the records sound really cool too.
Cool. When you're going through your recording process, like what do you? How do you go about like putting a project together? Are you just constantly writing and thinking and recording stuff and then figuring out what goes where, or do you actually have a specific vision in mind for one project kind of at a time? How do you go about that kind of stuff?
I mean, it just comes down to, at least lately, reservoiring, where I'll just make a bunch of music, and some of it is a body of work that could be attached to one producer. Other things could be loosies or one-offs I'm doing with people, and then if the sounds are starting to make sense that they should be together, that could possibly lead to some sort of, multi-producer EP or whatever, or even just like a loose single. I'd say as of late, really, it's been more so, having certain people hit me up, and I know that we already have really good chemistry. So I've just been trying to just build up, a collection of records for us to choose from if it were to come time for us to start making those sorts of decisions. Like I know with Walking Shoe, like that project, we've got, I'd say 6 or 7 records that we're feeling really good about. So those will most likely be what that is. And as we work on that, I think there's a bit more of a formal thing to it. I think one thing I'm interested in doing, especially this year and into next year, is, allowing people to hear more of what I'm making in real time. And I think it's been really fun with working with with Vaporize and also Fest Grandiose, especially is, just being able to, lay something down, sit with it a little bit. And then, I mean, honestly, some of the vibes, are blue.
Oops.
Did we listen?
Yeah. You might have dropped out. Might have to wait to reestablish that connection.
Yeah, he's not there.
He's frozen like this.
Technology.
Well, I mean, I can sit here and talk about Cemetery Man.
Please, no, thank you.
Risky, you could start showing your toys.
Oh no, I see him moving again. He's back.
Oh no! How far did you lose me?
To your hand was like this. No, you just started talking. You were talking about working with Fest Grandiose, and it started going out.
Oh, okay, yeah. So bottom line, I guess working with those guys, it's been cool to just kind of sit down and just know that we're already vibing, and we're able to kind of just crank out stuff in a pretty quick fashion. And then also on top of that, incorporating the lessons I've learned from both the project with Walking Shoe, but also the Vegas EP, which we put out in January, in terms of pop sensibility, and where we are and aren't going to be, thinking along the lines of like power hooks or stuff like that, because I think there's ways to be catchy without necessarily being, I'd say, obnoxiously poppy about it, kind of in an earworm sort of fashion. And I think that's something I'm really working on perfecting, especially with these next few EPs.
I have to give you credit because on Vegas, even though you're not technically rapping on it, it still has like it still has very much a hip hop feel to me. I guess maybe because it's you, but I have to give you credit with the music you've been doing because you've been pulling off, like you said, earworm music where it can be pop. But I think sometimes, like a lot of kids, like you come from an underground sensibility. You literally come from the underground as far as, the route you took.
Right.
But you also, the value system that you have has always kind of been an underground value system. That being said, you are not someone that's not afraid to make a record that has like pop vibes to it, right? And there's nothing wrong. I sometimes I don't understand. You can make records that can be pop without being corny, or if it's a good record and it feels good, just make it. Don't worry about what's going to happen with it.
Well, I mean, I think it's also about, really finding yourself and being yourself on the records as well. I mean, like, if you have the ability to have like a pleasant sounding voice or vocals that you think people will like, when executing your stuff, and it's unique to you, and I don't see any problem with it. I mean, I know when we spoke in the interview a few weeks back, I said, I really look at the term MC as a very diverse term, just because when it's all said and done, I look at that as the microphone controller, and maybe that person is singing, and maybe that person is rapping, or maybe they're combining the two. It doesn't necessarily have to be married to just one form of execution.
No, and people have been singing and rapping together long before Drake.
Yes, Fonte.
Yeah, well, even before that, Chicago's own Deli Del. Now he's well more known as a promoter, but he rapped and put out records in the late 80s, early 90s, and he was singing hooks and rapping.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You'll have to link me to that.
Yeah, I'll definitely will send you some of the songs. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
Talk a little bit about you guys did you just have it, or is it coming up the Tonic Room anniversary? And talk a little bit about.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, All Smiles was last Friday. It was the 5-year anniversary of that, and bottom line, I really, there's a lot of reasons why I'm happy with how the night went down, because first and foremost, I know that there was probably 3 to 4 other hip hop related events that were going on that night. And I'm pretty positive across the board between our event and everyone else's, they were all slammed. Like,
Nice.
They all killed it. And as far as I'm concerned, like that's incredible. Like I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, obviously, if you want to be greedy about it, everyone come to my stuff, but I'm not thinking that way. We had a spot that was just packed to the gills. A lot of happy people, good vibes, both new and old.
All smiles.
Be it all smiles, man. Exactly. We had L.A. Van Gogh headlining this awesome MC Michelet. She's incredible. Also Lamont Manuel from Tomorrow Kings, and then Robust.
Nice.
And then, last but not least, my crew, SCC, we reunited and, did our first set in about a year since the last anniversary. And I mean, for me, honestly, what was super pumped and amazing about that was I just forgot how much fun it is to be in a rap group and just to rap with your friends. You know, I've been doing a lot of stuff, you know, either pinch hitting on people's sets or performing with, you know, with live backing and kind of doing stuff like that. So to kind of get back to the roots of where this all started 7 years ago is just, I don't know, it was just electric. You know, it kind of got me thinking, how can we make more excuses to do this?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell people what All Smiles is that haven't been there. If they're watching, they might want to come through.
So the folks tuning in at home, All Smiles is a hip hop monthly at Tonic Room, right there on Halstead, right off the Fullerton Red Line. Every fourth Friday, we gather to bring positive energy and enjoy excellent artists. I curate the lineup in conjunction with Squad 119. And, you know, we do our best to try to create lineups that are representative of, you know, both stuff that we've enjoyed in previous years, but then also stuff that's on the come up, because ultimately, you know, my goal with things I do is to bring in people from different communities or from kind of different subsets of the culture. So hopefully, you know, be in the same room, see something that they like that they may not have known they might have liked, and then hopefully fuck with each other, just because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, again, like, to the point of having 6 different events or 4 or 5 different events that were all packed out, you know, it just shows how strong the culture is here right now. I mean, especially like, you know, going to different cities. A week ago, we drove out to Vegas as part of a video shoot road trip of sorts, and like, you know, seeing what this looks like in other cities. I mean, we're very lucky. This is a very special time. I think there's a lot of things that have changed since, you know, obviously 10 years ago when I was really first, you know, really getting the hang of kind of what this was all about and what it looked like here in Chicago. And I'd say now, in some ways, I'd argue it's potentially showing signs of being healthier even.
Without a doubt. I think it's the best it's ever probably been right now with industry look and the people fluctuating, coming here to be a part of the hip-hop scene.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've met more and more people saying specifically that they're moving to Chicago because of our scene. And that's like on the artist end, but also on like the logistic or on the studio end, you know, where it's like they see the opportunity and they're taking a chance on it. And that's super exciting. So for us with our monthly to be kind of, you know, happening right now, especially, you know, I look at us as really trying to bridge gaps between, you know, different groups of people. And, you know, hopefully, you know, again, people walking away with a new favorite artist if they come through.
So what you said about people coming here because they see opportunities, this is a perfect time to, you know, like make sure, and you as part of this movement and also being a promoter and an artist, you have a voice to make sure that you need to kind of bring that to the attention, and as much as you can bring that to attention, because you have these people all these years who have built a foundation, and now you guys are adding to that with your own art. And now you're starting to be able to build something that a lot of them couldn't while they tried for many years. There's a lot of reasons that didn't allow them to do it the way they wanted to. And now you guys are starting to build an infrastructure on top of the foundation that all these people laid. So with you guys having now creating a little bit of more of an infrastructure, this is what the South did. And now the South is a self-contained machine. They a young artist from Atlanta doesn't have to sell a record outside of the South to go platinum.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think generally, I think what you're also bringing up is something that, you know, we're also just seeing in the region in general. I mean, you know, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Detroit. Sure. You know, there's a lot, and St. Louis. I mean, my God, the whole region itself is just bursting at the seams with talent. I mean, you know, it's been really fun to see the national attention coming through, you know, whether it's for people like Webster X or Smino, you know, it's you know, it's really cool. So I think, you know, the more that we can start kind of getting our people out of Chicago around the region and vice versa, and kind of, you know, having this be the hub that it really is, and can, you know, kind of enhance what that is, you know, I think that'll be something really special to behold. I'm here to see that.
Well, now that the industry doesn't control everything and the internet has leveled the playing field a little bit, now is the time that we can build our own infrastructure and we can create like you said, you guys need to, but you are in a position where, and I'm not trying to put everything on your shoulders. I'm just saying, you guys in your movement, you need to make sure that you continue this and continue teaching people to build their own infrastructure. And I'm sure you're going to be fine with that.
I mean, it's also something where, there are certain things that, on the technological side of things, I think I came up in the era that's kind of like bridging the old era of technology and the new, but then you got to factor in, they're all the kids, on the, just beginning that are catching a lot of attention, just how much more in tune they are instantly with that as part of the process. I think it can only, benefit them more greatly than anyone in my position. If anything, I can just shepherd and provide perspective in that instance, because they're going to just get things automatically that, honestly, I have to make adjustments for, which, isn't the end of the world. It's just a different process. But in today's sort of cultural economy, I mean, there's a way for them to capitalize, I think, way more quickly. I mean, you're also talking about, what age they're reaching out to too. We've got a lot of voracious music fans in this city, period, that are of a very young age. And if you're that age right there, you're instantly connected to that. It's, it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of bridging that gap from the generation from like Risky and Sean and I to some of the 18, 19-year-olds now. In what ways have you had to, you just mentioned how you have had to adjust a little bit. So in what ways have you kind of adjusted and transitioned here, especially in the last couple of years?
I mean, I think being open-minded to different sounds and allowing, for not there to be any sort of orthodoxy necessarily attached to creating and what people are making. I also think, really having to focus. I mean, and this is just generally growing up and being more focused on the business end of things, really thinking about, how you're crafting your image on social media and how that translates towards success or perceived success or whatever in terms of, people wanting to mess with you and plug you, you know what I mean? I think it's very different than, I mean, it's an extension of the whole, skills should be enough, but they aren't. And it's always kind of been what it is. So how are you going to package it? And now obviously there's just a whole nother kind of, kind of online thing that you have to worry about in terms of how you package and push your shit. I mean, that I think, certain artists I've seen, that they don't necessarily understand how to integrate their great product, which is their music, into that, just because they're just not of that era. They just don't think along those lines. And so, unless someone shows it to them, they're just going to continue doing what they're doing, which in a way, if you have a cult following, who gives a fuck? You're doing your thing, you're eating. But, there are other artists that I think, if they were to tap into some of this, they'd see dividends pretty quickly just because of the talent that is there.
We live in a white noise world now where the music is secondary, not because it's bad, but because, kind of because it's bad. There's so much out there and so many people have access to putting their music out there. There's so much white noise. So back in the day, you used to be able to put your music and your music would come to the forefront and people would decide if they like you. Now you have to create this presence and this imagery before they'll even get a chance to hear your music most of the time. So that's definitely something that is new, and some of the older generation might not understand that. Yeah, you gotta, and that's the thing. It's definitely an adapt or die scenario.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say, like, even somebody like Chance, is for him doing what he's doing, he still has to have a team behind him. Like, he didn't get to where he is by himself. He's got a team behind him doing a number of different things, everything from the fashion side to social media to management to everybody, because this, as you said, you've got music, then you've got your social media presence, and you've got everything kind of else. How have you been working with this? Do you have anybody else that's kind of like on the Rich Jones team, or are you kind of handling everything yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I have my manager who has been working with me the last few years. We know each other from when going to school together, and this has been pretty organic in terms of our relationship when we were coming up together was being passionate about music and talking about it, and really enjoying that together. So it made sense at a certain point once he was moving in the direction of the industry to at least have the conversation. And initially that wasn't a thing. Like he had to kind of be like, it's not the time to do this. And then 2 years ago, right when the Vegas stuff started to kick off, that's when we kind of said, okay, we're gonna throw in and do this. He drove to Chicago met up in Vegas with me and we drove back together, and he's been here since. So, having someone like him, especially with what he learned from when he was doing management stuff in LA, that has greatly affected some of our approach on the social media end, and in terms of how we're approaching that, and then, aside from that, we have people that, we're definitely having conversations with just about, various strategies and just, presentation and all that. I mean, I wouldn't call it formal relationships, but it definitely, we have people that, I can make a phone call and have a informed conversation with, kind of in terms of how to gauge how we're moving and how we're doing, which, I mean, look, things could always be better as an independent artist, but I also know I'm stupid grateful for as far as we've gotten, just kind of us with what we do have. So, I mean, if anything, it just kind of, I think, makes me excited about, if we just kind of keep going and keep working, what could possibly happen. I mean, hell, we out of the blue just got booked for North Coast like, a week and a half ago. And that just came about, just because we've been able to make some shrewd moves in the last 6 months, both in terms of shows, but also the, the stuff we were putting out. So kind of seeing, the fruits of your labor emerge in ways that, look, getting a festival gig because you sell out a venue and have some music that people are messing with, is that surprising? No, but when it comes in the specific, you just don't know how it's specifically going to come to you. You know what I mean?
It's not surprising because you put in the work, man.
Yeah. Well, that's, but that's been also the fun part too, factoring in, what it takes too, in terms of both, we talk, as I've been saying about the online aspect of this, but then, kind of more hearkening back to the more kind of in your face tangible promotions that I've been experiencing, whether it's working for Red Bull or, doing freelance stuff, or even, doing my own postering when it comes time for me to promote what I'm doing. It's, you have to combine something that's both in the real world and then also in front of people's face online.
Yeah, you're out there, man. You're in the streets.
Working on it. They haven't named a street after me yet, though.
You are the perfect example of my social media advocate. And, if we had more people like you, we'd get more people following us on this film, I think. But for sure, you definitely have to have a brand presence in not only social media, also online. LinkedIn is another good place to be for businesses promoting, actual trying to find people with strategy and, going through finding corporate sponsors, things like that. So I commend you for your social media prowess, and thank you so much for sharing our stuff, because, that's all we need to do. We just got to share it.
Definitely. I mean, well, especially for what you guys are doing. I know you've got, some pretty big names attached to this, that obviously are adept at that as well. So, I think, I'm excited to see what this all becomes as, you continue to build this, and, just see what kind of attention comes to this, whether it's through me or obviously whoever else is involved, because, this is a really important project, especially just because at a certain point, you think about how little has been actually documented about any of this stuff. If it's not, white dead rockers or something, So, the fact that, we're focusing on something that hasn't been paid attention to in this sense, I think that's really, really special.
I know you're a fan of Chicago hip hop. That's how you got into it, being a fan of it, like all of us, right? We grew up with the people before us. What, from a historical standpoint, what is interesting to you about what we're doing here? Like, what would most interest you? What stories of who and what that we're tackling is interesting to you that's coming?
I mean, I'd be interested in kind of like, I guess, once it all comes out, I'd be interested in what kind of like the larger community kind of meetups looked like. I know I experienced Chicago Rocks, and that was a really cool example of everyone kind of banding together for an en masse, kind of celebration of the scene. But I'd be curious what previous iterations of that looked like, in an era where stuff was less sanctioned, in terms of like, being allowed to even be in traditional venues. You know what I mean? Like, how are people getting down in kind of large groupings, versus what we have today, which is, we can do hip hop in a venue. I mean, and as a city, we're stupid lucky because I know places like Portland, I've heard, are like stupid hard on hip hop, and not everywhere is down for that. So the fact that we've, had some semblance of people being okay with this being something that's had in traditional venues. That's pretty important.
Yeah, because before the venues, they were like, and we go in depth with many different people about these, and really they were just parties, like Kingdom Rock and Shy Rock's Blue Gargoyle parties, which were in a church rec center. And those are some of the most important parties in Chicago hip hop history. And you'll learn in the film some of the moments that happened there that changed the shape of Chicago hip hop forever. Literally, like things that little actual moments in rap that happened there that literally changed and kind of divided things and changed and formed crews and things like that. And then you had Duro with Lower Links up on the north side, and you had Steps, which was a rec center, and it was afternoon hip hop, and that was the first major party going on in Chicago in the early 80s or mid 80s. I mean, Peely Fresh had started, and that was basically at a community center up at by Loyola College, and it was going on even before night because nobody could drink, so they were all teenagers. So you had very young kids coming to hang out and do whatever their version of hip hop was then, almost like an after school program.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And that's where the beginnings. And then we moved to, and again, this is all documented in the film. And then we moved to your people started promoting, and then you get into parties, and now everybody's getting a little older, and now they take it to places like Elbow Room. Jesse forms, the Blue Groove Lounge, and open mics start happening, and then it leads to, eventually the Tonic Room, right?
Right.
And smiles.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy to even remotely be connected to any of that, because that, in some ways, I would argue that's just so crazy seminal. But I think it's interesting, especially when you talk about the maturation of the people involved or the players involved. You know what I mean? Just because at a certain point, what you are going to want to go somewhere to get your drink on. So where does that take place?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's sweet.
It starts off in the park at the Terror Dome, and on the south side, and ends up in the Blue Gargoyle, and then it ends up in, Double Door, and now they're doing shows at the Promontory, a couple blocks away from the Point.
I love the Promontory. I love that place. It's fantastic. I'm just a huge fan of especially not only their booking, but also, just the people that run it. It's funny, my buddy works at the hotel down there, so he always is telling me like who's staying there, because that's usually where they book the people.
Yeah,
so it's
sure.
like
a Radisson or something right there.
Something like that. Yeah, it's
or Hyatt.
Like, so and so is there. Oh, that's crazy. They're cool. Oh, okay, that's good to hear.
That's actually where we interviewed David Banner, right, Ryan?
Yep.
What was that about? What were you interviewing David Banner about?
For Midway.
What? Like the Cadillacs on 22s, David Banner?
Yeah.
Well, you got to explain that immediately. How does that work?
Well, so first of all, I guess, unless Ryan, do you want to? I'll start it off, and then Ryan can go further. Our goal is to also interview people that are connected to Chicago hip hop and their connection and or how they were influenced or worked with Chicago artists.
Okay.
And David Banner has a very strong connection to Chicago hip hop. And we reached out to him, and he was like, absolutely. And Ryan, talk about our interview.
Yeah, I mean, just as far as Midway goes, just kind of on the bigger level. I mean, as much as it is, documenting Chicago hip hop, we also want to include some national names to it too, to kind of help validate everything that we're giving, everything that we're doing. The fact that you've had people like. I mean, we've got a nice following of people, on social media, from Chuck D to MC Ren to, I mean, there's a bunch of really iconic people who are following us on social media. and some people who have worked with Chicago artists and some people who have not. And David Banner's particular story is down at, Jackson State, I think is where Stew Pot started. So,
Yeah.
He's part of a group with Cap D and Old School Ice Gree and Kamikaze from Crooked Letters, and they were all in a group down at Jackson State. And Vice Verse.
From the Drunk Uncles, they were all in a group together called Stew Pot Stowaways. They released a single and were featured in the Source prior to even Crooked Letters.
That's so amazing. That's got to be the coolest thing I've ever heard.
And David Banner was actually born in Chicago before he moved to Mississippi as an infant. So,
and he tells a pretty amazing story about how that all went down and how he ended up down there.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to hear that one. That sounds incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
And he talks about his admiration for Chicago groups, and he talks about how Chicago is actually his #1 sales market, which isn't surprising, as we're the biggest consumer market in the country, as we talked with many people about. He said he sold more CDs and records of the album Mississippi in the city of Chicago than he did in the state of Mississippi.
I also worked that team that worked on Mississippi.
Yeah,
like, we were everywhere. Shrewd killed the promo for Mississippi. And he actually came and thanked us all, because he was like, I guess he knew then that we were his market. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was very appreciative then.
Yeah, he's a very, very appreciative, humble person who understands his position. He's been given this great position, and now he's become this amazing activist and leader. And he's very humble. He was a super humble man when you talking to him, when he interviewed. It was genuine. It wasn't a facade.
That's awesome. That's super awesome.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Sorry. No, that's like, I don't know, like, seriously, that's absolutely, yeah. Like, my mind is blown.
Yeah, no, so we got, we interviewed, we did Jay Zone, and his was Jay Zone had his opinion on many Chicago stuff. He's a great record collector.
From his book, I remember reading that book, Root for the Villain. Mm-hmm. And it was like the worst possible book for me to read after I'd been partying down at Champaign on a Greyhound, just like hung over at from 9 to whenever we got back into Chicago. I was like, oh my God, it could really be this hard. Holy shit. But it was super informative, especially because he also signed the book to Rich, hip hop's the context sport, hit something, and I thought that's the coldest shit ever. So it was super inspirational. But in the back part, they had all the different record stores he liked to hit in Chicago. I remember reading that part, and that was really cool to think about.
Yeah,
he comes to Chicago a lot, just to record dig.
Well, I saw him at Empire Liquors. It was like 3 years ago.
That night.
Yeah, no, that shit was crazy. I remember, like, I popped and I was working a show at the Park West, and we got off work. And I said, let's go to Wicker and see what it is. And then we walked in there and he was there. I was like, oh my God, that's where I bought the book.
Yeah, and when we were done with this interview, I took him to Sultan's, because Sultan's is apparently his favorite restaurant in Chicago.
That's incredible. Well, if he comes to Chicago, maybe I have to bribe him with some Sultan's just to get familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, we did J-Zone. We did Slug. And Slug's had a very, long relationship with Chicago.
Yeah.
Charlie Tuna. But Charlie Tuna isn't, Charlie Tuna is born and raised in Chicago. He moved to Chicago in his teens, Yeah. Just saying, a lot of people just automatically assume the LA thing, so.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Who else did we do? House Shoes.
Yeah.
That's quite the cast we got going so far.
And we got a few more national names that we're planning on getting. We're talking to that, And then when people come into town, we try to catch them if they're down. We actually were set to interview Large Pro, but he ended up getting the plane got canceled. The flight got canceled.
Yeah. There was a bunch of stuff going on with the world and Trump that kept the planes in New York.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
Oh, it was the day. It was.
Say,
It was the day that they were bombing Syria, so they stopped planes out of New York.
Yep.
Oh wow! I didn't even know that was a thing. I just assumed he was flying Spirit or something. it was crazy though. I've flown Spirit so many times, and like I've only been royally screwed over once. And then the one time that I really just had to just kind of grin and bear it, I was flying United. It was awful, and this is pre all the drama and all that. Like I literally waited 3 or 4 hours both ways to get home. I'm like, man, I might as well just fly my Spirit flight. And honestly, the legroom on the United flight, not better than Spirit. They like, I don't know, the old United planes, they sold the Spirit. So if you want the original legroom length, you got to go Spirit now. Like, cause United's trash on a lot of levels. It's just no good.
I want, we had talked about that before, and I really wish I could have you tell one of the greatest stories I ever heard. Was your
I know
your travel bus story.
Oh man, that's my Garrison Keillor NPR award-winning WTTW. Sit down with Charlie Rose.
Yes, that is an amazing story. I'll have you. We won't have to have you tell that today, but we may have to record you just telling that one day, because if that doesn't end up somewhere, that needs to be an extra on something.
Or I might just con one of my friends into making a short film or something. We'll get real.
You have to make a short film or do a video.
The video part might work.
Dude, write a story, do a whole thing around it, and do a video.
Possibly. I mean, generally speaking, if I'm gonna tell stories, I like to freestyle stories, because at that point you just kind of start making stuff up, and I don't know, I get on a roll. But yeah, maybe someday that could be pretty cool. I mean, either that, making some sort of visual or something rather. Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy, especially if we could go to Blytheville, Arkansas, to get this down, get this done. We can go back to the scene of the crimes committed by the passengers of said Greyhound bus.
What the heck was that, Sean?
Is somebody juicing?
Yeah.
Is that your Roomba?
Man, like, what happened?
I gotta know what that was, Sean.
My paper shredder just came on for no apparent reason.
All right, so your basement's haunted then. That's cool.
Documents.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What kind of documents would you say you most often shred? Are they just, magazines you don't read anymore? Is it, people offering you credit cards? Like, what do you think is your most shredded document?
You know what? I think just junk mail.
Junk mail?
Just junk mail.
Oh, we got to give a shout out to Riot One. He's watching. Who was commenting earlier? It was Riot and who?
Doc Illa.
Oh, Doc Illa. Yes. Doc Illa. Shout out to Doc Illa and Riot One.
For sure.
We need to have Riot on one soon, because that literally would be a riot. That would be entertaining.
That would be an awesome show.
Yes.
And right now, Riot's watching, going, "Hell yeah, it will."
He just responded with, "Yeah, boy." Also want to give a shout out to Artistic, who I talked to last week. So shout out to him. Be connected with him on some stuff here soon, and to Freddie Rodriguez, who I talked to last week as well. So congrats to him on. I think he said they just wrapped up the first season of Bull, so that show seems to be taking off.
Oh, nice. Yes, Freddie Rodriguez, legendary Chicago hip hop alum.
What's the show? Bull.
Bull, Bull. It's a cop crime show on CBS.
Oh, interesting. Are they filming it in Chicago as well?
They are not. It is filmed in New York.
That's so unfortunate, man. That's kind of bullshit. Like the Bull is bullshit if they're gonna do. I know they did that with The Good Wife too, where they did that mostly in, I think, New York or somewhere, not in Chicago. I know APB that is definitely filmed in Chicago because they converted the Korean church by where I grew up has like a Chicago police sign on the outer window. And so my mom is like, that's the only reason she watches it, is just because it was filmed 2 streets over. But then also my buddy Trigney Morgan, there was a scene, I guess, where he was beating somebody up because they snitched. So I get to watch my very amiable, affable friend Trigney beat the living shit out of someone because they were snitching. It was pretty intense.
Did they give him stitches?
All of the stitches. Watch APB. It's on Fox. I think like 8 p.m.
It's really
probably.
good.
At some point, like between Sunday and Saturday, they have it. I don't know what day it's on, but between Sunday and Saturday, I guarantee you it's on Fox.
Nice.
And you can watch it on Hulu too. It's on Hulu. It's really good show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or just go to Hulu. Hulu's so lit. I watched Romy and Michelle's high school reunion yesterday, and then we watched South Park's Bigger, Longer, Uncut. It was a really special Sunday.
Yeah, celebrated with Post-it notes and Saddam Hussein.
Exactly, 100%. What's really crazy about this is I was recreating, like 20 years, like a little less than 20 years ago, when my cousins rented those 2 movies. They said, "Okay, we want to watch this, and we'll rent this for you." Yeah, so like we'll watch Romy and Michelle's first, and then we'll watch South Park. And I was like, "All right, fine. I don't really give a fuck. I just want to watch South Park." So I'll grin and bear. It was actually pretty funny. Lisa Kudrow has her moments. Also, the other dude from The Good Wife, the Irish dude. Shit, I forget his name. He plays Sandy Frank, the guy that has to hide his erection with the Notebook. He's a classic character, super classic character.
I mean, sounds like high school days.
Pretty much, yeah. I know one time the worst was I only got caught off guard once in high school where I just was like rock hard, and the guy was like, "You got to pass back papers." And I was just like, "Oh fuck, this is not gonna go well." But luckily, no one seems to remember that except for me. So maybe it didn't happen.
I mean, sometimes you get real hot teachers or real hot substitutes.
Oh no, man! I was completely somewhere else in my head. I'm a phenomenal daydreamer. It's like I'm like an Olympian level daydreamer. I don't get bored. Maybe it's because I'm an only child. Like I just have to be able to create something entertaining in my head, or just like go elsewhere if I'm really not feeling where I am.
I was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, and with family, and my girl and her sister ended up watching what is it? Can't Hardly Wait. Is that the Jennifer Love Hewitt one from there? But Freddie had a small part of that too. He was.
Freddie was in that.
Yeah. Yeah, which I might have seen that movie once maybe before, but I didn't remember any of that. So it was funny to see him as kind of like the first friend of like the main bad guy or whatever you want to call him in that thing.
Was he Seth Green's stunt double?
He was like Seth Green's like homie, like the hip hop.
Yeah.
Homie,
oh, okay.
Right?
So he definitely may have been wearing goggles and/or a visor.
Yes, probably.
That's awesome. That's super rad.
But Rich, do you have any aspirations to become an actor?
I mean, you could say I have a flair for the theatrical. But yeah, as of right now, I haven't really involved myself in anything. I think, comedy, improv is really cool. Stand-up is really cool. I've learned a lot from those mediums in terms of what I do. So, maybe like exploring those a bit more and seeing how that would work in terms of going back into what I do with music and just generally entertaining. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could be something really interesting. I know I've done some writing stuff. I took a screenwriting course many moons ago that was super fun, and it was cool to think about writing in the capacity of something more narrative versus focusing on kind of a shorter scale writing project like a song or something like that. So I definitely could see myself taking that route, it just to mess around with it, because I really I got other interests outside of hip hop, on the history end. I'm a big history buff, so there's some way of connecting all the worlds together, and I get to write some cool shit. That could be fun.
Well, you kind of act in the Everything video.
Yeah, you could say, I don't say any lines. Where's my Oscar? This is bullshit.
Yeah, you don't have any lines, but it was a good video. I mean, the narrative's really good. It was shot well, it was put together well, it was edited well, and you performed it well.
Well, yeah, I mean, and my dad gets cameo of the year. He murdered his shit. You know, no, Cody LaPlante was a complete joy to work with. You know, just because he just was super high energy and just super positive the whole time. So, you know, it was definitely work, but when it was all said and done, you know, it was just you know, super enjoyable. And you know, I'd love to work with him again if I could pull off the budget, because he's definitely worth it.
Tell the kids that might not know what SCC is and what the plans for SCC in the future.
SCC was my group, Second City Citizens, with Swords of the Ronin and Troy Boy. We were last super active back in 2014 when we released our EP, Tres Amigos, produced mostly by Montana Max. I think there was one record by One to Know on there, Terrence. Yeah, that was kind of the last time we put it all together, so to speak, in terms of shooting videos and you know, coming up with just a full project. You know, and that did pretty well. You know, people really seem to enjoy it. I think from there, you know, we haven't had a chance to, I guess, we'll get on the same page to keep working on new stuff. We have records that aren't out, that aren't on anything, that I think at some point I'd like to release, you know, with the right situation. But I think most importantly, you know, this past weekend, getting to perform with them and just kind of getting to kind of remember what that felt like, and, you know, just to be enjoying yourself with your friends, you know, just having fun. I think I'd be really interested in, you know, at least exploring what else we could do, especially, you know, now both Troy and Swords, you know, they've been doing stuff, you know, they're getting into production mostly, Swords especially, and, you know, Troy's been doing some writing, but, you know, I know that they're exploring different sides of their creativity. It's, you know, the same way, you know, I'm exploring making pop music. You know, you're finding different ways to remain connected to your creative instincts while also, you know, maybe we can hopefully find a way to bring it all back together. I mean, that would be super fun to really be able to mold and control the sounds of what we're making, especially if, you know, they're getting more and more proficient at their craft in that regard. So, yeah, I think, you know, for us, it was just a really great reminder too, though, just, you know, there just aren't a lot of groups anymore, really. It's a lot of, you know, kind of maybe squads that are malleable and maybe people share features, but to have something where it's like a genuine unit. I mean, you know, you've got us, Gyroscope, which is a 2-man duo, but that feeds into Tomorrow Kings, which is like a whole, you know, squad of people, you know. But aside from that, like, you know, I think the only other people I can think of off the top are like Mother Nature, and they're fantastic. They're from Champaign originally, and they just relocated here last year. They're these girls, Tierney and Cleva, and they're just out of control. I saw them last night at Lincoln Hall when I saw Namdi and Sen and MF and Mello and JD and all them.
Out of the you know, all of the Tres Amigos, who is most likely the Martin Short of the group?
Man, that's really tough. Troy, easily. Troy, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd love to meet Martin Short. He's seriously a North American treasure. You ever watch Jiminy Glick?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Oh my God. Or any of you see SCTV, the comedy show?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we every Christmas we watch the SCTV Christmas specials, and Martin Short is just out of control.
I mean, that's where the great night, the Bob and Doug McKenzie come from, the Great White North.
Oh, definitely. Oh, and also the PBS stars of PBS Sports Olympics with Mr. Rogers versus Julia Childs in a boxing ring. It's just or Bill Murray as Joe DiMaggio. Bill Murray, I guess, made like a bunch of cameos. I found this out getting into an SCTV YouTube K-hole like 3-4
rabbit
months ago. Oh, I just got lost in it. I was like, I have to find everything that's available because there was nothing streaming. It used to be on Netflix, years and years ago, but now it's I think strictly DVD or pirating at this point.
Let me tell you this. You'll appreciate this because this is pretty deep comedy. So I DJ in Old Town at a place called Sweet Lounge. Sean spends there as well. And the bar years and years ago used to be owned by John Belushi. That being said, it was called the U.S. Blues before we ended up taking it over. We've been there for 12 years now. But that being said, we'll randomly get, comedians that will come in there to kind of that people that know will come to people from his era or his friends or people that are in the know will come to kind of just check out the bar to kind of see and soak it up, right? Mm-hmm. And one night I'm sitting there and I'm playing, and in comes this group of people, and then this little guy sits down literally at the end of the bar next to me, and it's Tim Kazurinsky.
Oh, damn.
And he's just hanging out at the stool sitting next to me. And he's like, and I'm playing like Tribe or something. He's like, it's got a really good beat. I'm like, it's Tim Kazurinsky. Rocking a Tribe. Of course he lives here, but he's like, telling me how he used to come hang out here when John had it and stuff like that.
Well, I'm friends with his daughter.
Oh, wow.
I met him a couple of times. Super nice guy.
Oh, yeah, really cool guy.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
Right? It's him and his friends, they just came down, sat, and they had drinks, and they stayed a few hours just chilling.
I mean, hey man, good vibes are good vibes.
Yeah, right? It was pretty trippy, and I'm sure most people watching this, I mean, I'd hope they would know, but a lot of people sometimes don't know Tim Kazurinsky because he was more of a writer. He wasn't up front as much, but you can't forget Sweet Chuck.
No. Not at all.
Without a doubt.
Hey, Rich, who are some of your non-hip-hop influences when it comes to music?
Music-wise, the Specials I was really into. I know my mom was playing me like Alpha Blondie, Bob Marley Live, the Beatles. My dad's side, he played me, Donovan, Roy Harper, Dave Van Ronk, Bob Dylan, stuff like that. And then, Parliament Funkadelic was in the mix. Just all sorts of Talking Heads, Crash Test Dummies. Family road trips always were real interesting. I remember it was like the what was it, the movie with Ray Liotta and Jeff Daniels, like Wild Things or whatever. Had like a super crazy soundtrack. It was like loaded with shit. I think everything from like Fine Young Cannibals to like Talking Heads to like a bunch of other things. So that listening to that sort of stuff as a kid was really nice. And then like stuff I kind of found on my own moving from that was initially kind of supported, like They Might Be Giants. I know was like a really big group. That was my first concert when I was like 11. We went to the Vic and got to sit in one of the private booths to go see them do their thing. That was like my first concert, honestly, where I was like, I want to be here for this, and I get to do this. This is great.
Wow, that's a good group for a kid, right? It's not overly aggressive or like they rock, but they're not. It's not too crazy. Like what's the big song? Birdcage.
Birdhouse in Your Soul.
Birdhouse in Your Soul. Yeah, not Birdcage. Yeah. Birdhouse in Your Soul.
Well, this is nerdy. It's fun.
Istanbul.
I think. Well, if anything, I think as songwriters, those guys, they'll write shit about anything, and some of it'll just be so ridiculously silly, but there'll be something kind of in a way beautiful about it. Like they have a song called "I Can Hear You" that they made at the Edison Labs, and it's like on super old recording equipment, and like it's kind of got this kind of like really creaky tuba sound, tuba that they're playing in it and all that, but they're saying like ridiculous things like this car is protected by vipers and move away before the alarm goes off, shit like that, and it's just completely goofing on it while using something that sounds kind of eerily beautiful in a way.
Well, you talk about how indie rock and new wave has influenced you a lot and different things. You mentioned that earlier, and your mom's influences and all that stuff has been connected to hip hop for many years because producers were tapping into that electronic indie synth pop stuff from the get go. You know, a lot of Africa Bambaata's early works were clearly craft work, and me and Sean Doe do a night where we play a lot of, like, while we play a lot of hip hop, we also play a lot of new wave and stuff, and it's cool because I think Sean can attest to this. We get a lot of like hip hoppers that come out the woodwork and they go nuts because we're playing some really good, like, off the wall new wave stuff. And they're like, you know, they grew up with it too, especially in a city like Chicago, where the clubs we went to were mixing, you know, this was kind of a little bit before your time, but the clubs that people went to were mixing hip hop with, like, in a night you would hear, or there'd be several floors, but it was a place you would go to where they were playing industrial music, and they were playing, which was, you know, just dance rock, right? And then they were playing new wave stuff, and then they were playing hip hop. Yeah. So it all, you know, everybody's really infused musically here with a lot of different influences.
Oh, definitely. I mean, right there talking about, you know, in terms of how it was being presented back then, I mean, you know, kind of connecting it, we were talking about what's going on right now. I think that's kind of what's making the music so fun in the hip hop genre, is the way that it is connecting with the other genres and being presented with the other genres. I mean, I think especially in Chicago with live instrumentation being kind of, you know, a cornerstone of a lot of people's sets right now, if you're going to stand out. And also kind of, you know, find acceptance from different folks. I mean, not saying you have to have, you know, like a full band per se, but even some level of accompaniment. I mean, the production value of that is you know, it's kind of unmatchable in some ways. I know for me lately, if I've been performing, you know, it's been kind of difficult for me to do, you know, kind of like aux chord sets or whatever, just because, you know, there's just no extra feeling to it. There's no umph.
You know, but that's with live. That's what's weird about hip hop. Somewhere it got off the rails and became very auxy and daddy and CD player type thing, and it became this, like, I don't know where it fell off the rails, but when I was young, while it's not a full rock band, you had DJs that could rock, and it's a show. They would rock you. It was a show that would be so dope. And then all of a sudden, somewhere it started becoming acceptable where people would do, you know, they would walk up and they'd plug in a phone and do their set from a phone. And then on top of that, or whatever they had, a DAT player or mini disc or whatever they were plugging in. And then on top of that, to me, the worst thing, like the sin of all sins for me personally, like, is rapping over your vocals.
Oh yeah, no, that's just not a thing. I mean, well, you know, to the point of like plug and play, you know, to be fair, one of the coolest sets I've seen recently was this vocalist Willis Earl Beal, who's from Chicago, and it's definitely, you know, he had his shit in a CD player on a stool, and he just went in for like an hour and a half. He also, though, it made it so everyone had to like sit down on the floor of the empty bottle and couldn't applaud him. He refused to have people applaud him, or else he would freak out. It was one of the stranger performances I've seen, but he just kind of went for it. But he also, as a performer, was just completely into it.
If you can own it, though.
Oh yeah, no.
Cool. If you can do it, but a lot of these kids can't. Most of them can't. Like, that's the thing. Like, that dude's unique. A lot of these kids, they don't know how to perform. They can't. And I feel like, I don't know. I've seen you perform, and you can perform. I've seen. You know, I seen you, you know, a few years ago, like maybe 3 years ago or whatever. It was like out in the birds with Watch City.
In Elgin, when I teased everyone to become my new best fan with my concoction of Jameson with fried shrimp. It really went over well. It was a culinary delight.
I can't say I remember that, but that sounds amazing.
Well, yeah, people weren't doing what I wanted them to do, and I was like, I just showed you this phenomenal combination. Make some fucking noise, and it went over pretty well. That was a fun show.
You can perform, and you're an entertainer, but like, somewhere I feel like that part of the live aspect of hip hop, we're dropping the ball. And I don't know, I think it's the community needs to, it's kind of everybody's fault because we need to stop accepting trash.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to diss somebody for putting themselves on stage, but because I mean I respect anybody that has the balls to get on stage, but
yeah,
we need to have standards a little bit more.
Well, I mean, to the point of standards, I agree with you, but you know, I also know you should talk to Lior Galil because he's been going and checking out some of the pop-up events that Chicago Sleepers, this one kind of blog / podcast is doing, and like, you know, they were doing these loft parties at in Wicker Park, and they were, you know, this is like, you want to talk about like when you're talking about youth popping out to the youth centers or whatever for this stuff, you know, this is kind of that example where they, you know, they're crowded in this spot and they're turning up super hard for these people that are performing. Again, he was there, he saw it, he would have a better sense of it, but you know, I think. In the vein of something similar that I've seen though with my own eyes, it's like Young Lean, the kid from Sweden. I saw a show of his at Reggie's 3 summers ago, and unfortunately rapping over the vocals, but the kids were so turned for it. The floor of Reggie's was covered in sweat. It was wet. It was just because of how hard people were going. It was in summer too, so you know there was that. But it was an intense thing, man. I mean, look, our standards for performance, I think, you know, that's what I follow. I think that's what should be followed. But
no, for sure. I mean, if you get it, if you work it, you work it. But yeah, at a certain point, I'm just like, I think that's the thing. Like, that's what I'm saying is crowds are accepting that as a norm. That's what is throwing me off. Like, we got to somehow right that shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, I think at a certain point you get bored of it, and you know, hopefully people get to see the one person do it really fucking well, and all of a sudden, not everything else just kind of becomes like, you know, par for the course or unacceptable. You know, so I think, you know, I think that it just comes down to finding different platforms for people that are following that standard or positioning themselves accordingly. I mean, at this point, you know, I don't begrudge people's success. You know, if they figured out a way to make it work, they made it work. It doesn't mean I have to like it, but you know, it just, you know, it means, yeah, you know, good for them.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like the guy yelling, "Get off my lawn!" Sometimes.
No, not I don't feel that way at all. No, because I mean, as someone who books a monthly and you know does have to give a fuck about live performances, because I want to make sure that I'm giving people, you know, top-notch stuff in terms of, you know, both interesting people, but people that can deliver a live experience. And, you know, that's something I'm very sensitive to, isn't that? Because I think it's kind of, again, you know, going back to our talking about the title of MC, if you aren't even actually using your own vocals for that, I mean, that's kind of, you've kind of missed the point of having that opportunity to do something live.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, you know, especially when I'm seeing vocalists do this shit now too, though, where you've got singers that, you know, are singing half their stuff and then kind of like hyping their vocal tracks. And this is like on the main parts of like hooks and stuff. And people that have good voices too. It's very strange. I'm not going to say any names, but it's like, it's definitely something where like, I think, you know, it does nothing but hurt them in the long run, you know, and there, you know, there could be other reasons for that too. You know, it comes down to preparedness, or maybe there was a change in what they wanted to do. Who fucking knows? But, you know, I think that honestly, I find almost in some, hey, silence all cell phones. We're yeah.
And paper shredders.
And paper shredders, yeah.
I'm sorry,
so, you know. No, I think that was it. You know, honestly, yeah. Like I feel you, and you know, it's you know, on one hand, you know, people are responding to it, which is good. You know, it just comes down to, you know, hopefully the product improves as time goes on. I mean, also, who's having these conversations with them in the first place? I'm fairly convinced, you know, most of these artists don't necessarily have like.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they know any better.
Yeah. No, not at all.
No.
And that's where I think the problem is. The disconnect is somewhere along the lines. Us as a community, or us as just anything, kind of need to be like, yo, just rap to the beat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got really lucky that I had someone like Montana Max to not only teach me formats for writing, but also, when SCC was first getting started, he pretty much coached us through our first rehearsals, literally helping to like teach us like stage movements as a unit.
Look at people,
and then also,
all kinds of things.
Exactly, and then, this is where you need to be standing if you're the one that's rapping, and if you're backing them up, this is what you do, and then how do you avoid chord tangles on stage, all sorts of shit. Eventually, everyone goes through a couple of microphone spaghetti monster moments where it's just like, how the fuck do we untangle this shit? But yeah,
Give me new mics quick.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again though, having someone very specifically, I mean, not everyone has that person.
No, I agree
at all.
Then yeah, that's why I'm kind of like, as a community, sometimes we need to step up. And if you see someone lacking and you think they can do better, then step up and help them.
Definitely. I mean, that's where I think, like, for instance, a great example of someone doing that is like Def C, and I know him and Ad too have been doing the workshop stuff over at YCA. I think it's been over a year now that they've been working together for their portion of it. And I know that a big part of what they do is performance coaching, and giving feedback on that stuff as well as the writing. Yeah. Yes, I mean, I mean, obviously those are established pipelines now for people kind of incubating talent for what could be the next wave, especially just because of people paying attention to that as well, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Ad 2 just continues to impress people.
Oh, he's the man.
Yeah, and he really puts his, money where his mouth is, so to speak, with his actions and what he does.
100%, man. 100%. I mean, look, it's impressive to have done what he's done, and he's able to, give back to the kids and keep them moving in a positive direction. It's inspiring.
I agree.
Cool. All right, guys. Time for a little bit of this or that.
Sure. I got a couple.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay. So, Rich, we do this or that, right? Which is very self-explanatory. SCC or SCC? Second City Citizens or South Central Cartel?
Let's say Second City Citizens.
Okay, of course, right? That's kind of a no-brainer. Were you a fan of the South Central Cartel?
Honestly, I only know the name. I've never listened to them.
So you need to listen to South Central Cartel. They're amazing.
If they're on Apple Music, it can go down tonight.
It should. They should. I think they should be on it. They were on Def Jam, weren't they? I think.
Yeah.
West Coast.
Was the West Coast Havoc and Prodigy.
Yeah, that was West Coast Havoc and Prodigy. Yep, their names were Havoc and Prodigy too. I think there might have been a little war. Yeah.
You got to be fucking kidding me.
No, they spelled it differently though.
That's hilarious. They
like actually were really dope. Like Tupac was on the albums, and a lot of people were featured.
Well, they had that one song, that Gangsta Team with what was it, Spice One, Tupac, Ice-T, and MC8, I think, all around the same big giant posse cut.
Yeah.
That's super epic. I definitely got to peep that. That sounds maybe my answer will change after I've listened, but I have to root for the home team first and foremost.
I feel you. Right. And then I followed some of your exploits on social media, and one of my I used to get a laugh out of your ability to critique good Mexican food.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna go with tacos and burritos.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go with tacos.
Okay.
Tacos, definitely. I especially I owe a big. I'm in debt to Maceo Hames of the Omais. He's chefed for me many a time over the years, and he's really gotten me to appreciate cilantro. I have, I think, the genetic disposition to dislike cilantro, but he has somehow kind of force-fed me into and waterboarded me with cilantro boarded me, if you will. So I haven't really had a choice, and everything else tastes so good that I kind of just I was able to make it work. I will say it hasn't transferred over to Asian food. Like if banh mi has cilantro all up on it, or pho or whatever, I can't really do that. That's still kind of gross. But with at least Mexican food, I can get down.
So hold on. I want to ask him where's the best taco in Chicago? I'm not going to ask you other places you've traveled because I want to be able to go there this week.
You want to go there this week?
So what's your favorite taco in Chicago?
I mean,
I understanding it's subjective, but your opinion.
That's dumb suggestive. I mean, honestly, man, like if I'm going just by like the fillings of it, I really fuck with the El Pastor from Carmela's on Lawrence and Broadway. When I used to work at the Riv, I would go there and I'd get the tortas and some tacos on the side if I was feeling frisky, but that was definitely a good move for me. I would also say honestly the tacos from what was this place called? It was a grocery store on Ashland and Black Hawk that had they had the taco counter inside of it, and then they closed. They had a location on Armitage and Rockwell that closed, and then they moved somewhere like super far west. So they were fantastic. I also really, really fuck with El Patron. El Patron is just off the hook. You really that ribeye especially is just so crazy.
Where's El Patron at?
They moved. I think they're like super west on Fullerton, like Fullerton in Central Park or something. I don't remember. They used to be Diversity in California, right there by the IHOP and the Popeyes right there.
What's the spot we go to, Ryan?
What is it? La Cartesia, I think, something right there in Ashland, just south of Madison on Ashland.
That place is amazing.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
What was the first place you mentioned though on Broadway?
Carmela's.
It's Carmela's. Yummy.
Yeah, super, super amazing. It's usually what I used to do is I'd get 2 sandwiches and one was supposed to be for later and I just eat them both like right away. It's like, fuck it, this is too good.
But right over there on Broadway too is Fiesta Mexicana.
Oh yeah.
Tuesdays, it's half-price margarita pitchers.
Oh no, I've spent some happy sunny days on Broadway with friends. Under some Fiesta Mexicana. I like that place though better than the one in Lincoln Park. I feel like it's more affordable and I don't know, it's more cozy to me.
Yeah, they're nicer there. I think they treat you like family there.
Exactly.
So mentioning tacos, so a follow-up to that is flour tortillas, corn tortillas, or hard shell. Please don't say hard shell.
Well, no, we can count hard shell out immediately.
Okay.
I would say if I'm going for a taco, we'll run with the corn. If I'm doing quesadilla, I go with the flour, but that's just because you get so much more quesadilla. If you get the little tiny corn ones and they're just little tiny corn ones, it's like why pay the same amount for less when I could just get shit tons more carbohydrate involved in this process. Like, let's just get this cracking as hard as possible.
Good answer.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, like it's a subjective answer. No, good answer. We're judging you.
You've passed the test. You've chosen wisely.
But here's the thing. Like, let's just say you didn't like my answer. This is fantastic. That means I'm never gonna have to fight any. Let's hypothetically, I'll never fight any of you for this food. We only have enough of the pastor left for one more order. Okay, works for me. They don't like it. Fine, good. I feel no guilt. I wasn't gonna offer a bite anyway.
I like flour tortillas sometimes on a taco, and then everybody's like, "Of course you do. You're white."
I mean, look, man.
I get that all the time.
If you're trying to Uber up the, I mean, would it be
Although
possible,
I don't eat Big Star, so whatever that means.
Would it be possible to make larger corn tortillas versus like little? Could you just do a massive fucking corn tortilla? Because I mean, if that was the case, why don't they just have the XL size? It'd be like the Magnum condom of tortilla skins.
I mean, burritos in a corn tortilla, right?
I suppose, but I mean, I'm talking about like a fold. Kind of more on like the, you've got the fold versus the roll.
But I'm saying if you're gonna do the big like 12er, then you can make a burrito anymore.
It's so funny that you mentioned Big Star because I went there last week and a very strange thing happened to me. I saw a friend across the street and I waved at him and he gave me a funny look, almost as if he didn't recognize me. And then I saw him last night and I brought that up to his attention. He's like, yeah, I think it's like a force field bubble that exists if you're there, where people just look different. I know, yeah, it's like it's like I don't go there that often, but whenever I go by there, it's like, man, it feels like it's a whole nother universe, a whole nother expensive taco universe that I'm not a part of right now.
I can't get involved in the price of expensive tacos, and there's only a few things that should be in a taco. You should not have all that other fancy bullshit in a taco. A taco should be meat, cheese, and fucking vegetables, and basic.
Okay, listen here,
cilantro,
Mr. Taco Puritan.
No, that's just because he doesn't have a palate to taste anything other than.
Yeah, I know. I can't get in that stuff.
Plain stuff.
I mean, that's fine. Hey, you like what you like. All I'm saying is I'm here to get weird with it. If that's what we're doing.
I'm not judging you.
Thanks, man. Again, if we had to factor in, you could have all the plain tacos you want. I'd have all the exotic ones. We're both happy. This is
chutney
fantastic.
Tacos.
Actually, I had some chutney today that was like, it was pretty life-changing. I had a sandwich from the spot next to the studio I was at, and they offered, it was like some curry potato burger, something that was supposed to be vegetarian, and it tasted okay, but the chutney really sealed the deal.
Yeah, I am not a foodie in that respect. So I'm a foodie as in like
you're a foodie as in Portillo's.
Yeah, no. I mean, well that's just general. That's just Chicago, and I'm a foodie as in like I like a steak and a baked potato, and that's about it.
Right.
Or Portillo's.
I mean, and we do that very well too.
Mm-hmm. I'm super very like farm foodie because that's what we were raised.
Definitely, man. Eggs, meat, orange juice.
Yep.
Sean,
all right. Here's my this or that. Jay-Z or Sketch 185.
Sketch 185.
Yep.
Is that even a question?
Well, I don't think it is. But
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, look. I put it this way. I mean, you want to talk about global effects. I mean, with respect to Sean Carter, but yeah, gonna have to put it on. I've seen Sketch 185 do some amazing. I've never seen Jay-Z perform. There's that too, but I have seen Sketch 185 perform, and he's a force of nature. So, that's that.
That's right. Good job.
I love that you really truly go at home team, but you're like genuine with it. It's not home team because it's home team. It's home team because it means that much to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
that's how I am.
Oh, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're not rooting for our own, then who is? In the internet age, there's a diverse answer to that, which it could be a lot of people. For all we know, my biggest fan base someday could be in like Yellowfang, Canada or some shit. And then all of a sudden, I'll be able to do a packed 4,000 person rec center in Yellowfang, Canada, or Saskatchewan, or Saskatoon, or some shit.
I would love to see a 4,000 person rec center.
I'm just gonna do a mining camp tour of Canada. We'll just go to places where they're fracking, and I'll be their entertainment. Well, it's funny. There's a family friend of ours who toured in Europe, and he's kind of like a singer-songwriter type, and he was doing a lot of like university like mixer like opening weekend type shows. And the craziest he had is he was somewhere in the middle of the UK and ended up hanging out with travelers for multiple days on end in kind of like a weird room in some like weird like like hostel or something, just surrounded by these people that were just passing in and out. It sounded super surreal. I've never, again, like a la my Memphis Greyhound bus terminal story, except the lodgings were paid for him. He was making some money off of it. But
one day, if you people ever get a chance to run into Mr. Jones here, try to get that story from him and get it firsthand. He'll tell you. Just say, I want to hear the Memphis story.
And we'll go from there. Just know it involves colostomy bags.
Oh my God.
It's a true story.
It's true. Very true.
All right, as we close out, anybody have anything else to say to Rich?
1 second.
No.
I'm going to take that as a no. So I'm going to continue with closing. I want to send a shout out to our sponsors, Genesis Art Supply, as they move to their new / old location on 2417 Northwestern. So check them out. And of course, Emporium Arcade Bar on they got 2 locations: 1366 North Milwaukee and 2363 North Milwaukee. MTV Generation, do you have your next date yet for the next one?
Yeah, it is the 20th of this month.
Sweet.
Nice. So everybody should come out and check that out. It's a good time, as always. And man, Rich, thank you so much for your time and sitting in.
Yeah, thank you so much. A really, really fun Monday night. We bonded over me having matzah and you guys not having matzah.
Yes.
Shout out my friend Selena for sneaking that in my travel bag. And then, we got to talk about favorite. I mean, this was just great. I also got to learn that David Banner has a strong connection to Chicago. I never would have guessed that in a million years, which is maybe silly, but here we are.
And if people are looking for you, where can they find you out there?
Okay, so Facebook.com/RichJonesMusic, SoundCloud.com/RichJonesMusic. Now here's where we get the curveball and the sinker with the curveball. Twitter.com/JonesSoRuthless, and now the sinker, Instagram Island of Jones. So we've got a nice little mix and match of confusing handles that y'all can get a handle on. And then be sure to keep your eyes and ears peeled. We've got some show announcements coming up for summer in Chicago and beyond. Also, if you're looking for fantastic up and coming hip hop and just generally awesome, solid talent, period. Come check out All Smiles every 4th Friday this summer at the Tonic Room. If you RSVP on Do 312, you get a free old style. So they get to help you build a buzz, and it's pretty cheap to drink there otherwise. So, we can at least get you started, and then you can take it away.
Congrats on the North Coast spot.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, that's gonna and if you happen to be at North Coast, be sure to be looking out for when the schedule announcement comes out. It's gonna be a winner. We just started actually planning out the set this past week. So
how long do you get to rock for?
I'm not actually sure of the full set length. It's just more kind of preliminarily thinking about what might make sense right now. I mean, I also have a whole summer to make a bunch of music, so we'll see how it shifts from today until the day of the show. But definitely looking forward to figuring out who's going to be a part of this, both in terms of guest spots and also the actual personnel playing behind me.
Cool.
One thing, Ryan, I wanted to do, and I want to get the details up in front of me before we go, is I want to mention, hold on one second. I wanted to mention Chainsaw had dropped a new book.
Yes.
And
I don't have all the details. He did, but I don't have the details in front of me as well. So
hold on. Yeah, it's a book on his life as a Ill State Assassins. It's on the history of Ill State and the Ill State experience. I'm trying to pull up here. Hold on. Here.
Ill for Life. Our Time, My Story.
Wow, Ryan, you won that battle.
I did.
Yeah, and it's available. It's available on Kindle, so you can get it at Amazon, and then there are hard copies. He had hit me up, and he's going to send us a copy for Midway.
Cool.
Yeah, you can go to
the archives.
Yeah, you can go to J Rice JWRICESR.com. And that's jricesenior.com, and you can get it there too.
Yeah, it's we got Chicago hip hop that are now authoring their stories. So you guys as Chicago hip hop fans or part of the community should go and support this. People like Ferrilogy and Chainsaw, and learn more about your history. And yeah, I can't wait to read it. Yeah, he had hit me up and said he's gonna send us one to put in the archives, and I told him I'm actually gonna buy one myself, and then we'll put that one in the archives.
Yep, and everybody should check out Aztec De Niro's trailer for his upcoming movie Shake Bag.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Shake Bag in the Six. Yeah, that looked really good, right? Like
That's an amazing title. That's such an amazing title.
Yeah, it's really it's based on one of Chicago's great producers and just hip hop in general, Harvey Allbangers, who we lost. He was part of Bon and Nip with Audacity years ago, and you know, just a producer for many different people. And he was really close to Aztec and their crew. They were best friends, and Aztec is making this film, a short film, or actually, no, I actually believe it might be a feature length, but he's making a film based on the weekend that they found out that he died and what it meant to him and his crew in Chicago hip hop. And it's a drama. I'm sure there'll be other things involved and a lot of music involved. But it's gonna focus on the death and loss of a major Chicago hip hop community member. So if you get a chance, check out the trailer. It was amazing. It dropped the other night at midnight. I literally waited up to watch it, and I was very impressed. The filming looks great.
Yeah, we'll put that up on Midway's social media.
Yeah,
too.
please link me. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, with that being said, everybody, Barb, where can people find you?
On Facebook and Twitter at Babs76, and also on LinkedIn for all your social media and other leadership type of strategies / info.
Yes, check her out there. Risky Biz.
At DJ Risky Biz 1975, Instagram, Twitter at DJ Risky Biz, and Chad Sorensen on. Oh, look at this guy, very good. And Chad Sorensen on Facebook. You can hit me up on there too.
Sean Dizzo.
Instagram and Twitter at DJ Sean Doe. Facebook, Rasan Sean Doe Hawkins.
And you can find me at 278 Media on Twitter and Instagram. The number is 278 and Media. Midway, of course, is at Midway Doc on Twitter, Midway Doc on Instagram. YouTube channel is Midway Documentary Shy. And you can find us on Facebook at Midway Documentary. Check us out, share, like, all that kind of fun stuff, because that's the only way that this thing gets done is with the help of you guys. So that being said, what's
is that the
Cemetery
Blu-ray?
Man? No, it's the DVD.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Rupert Everett.
We can
and
I can do my one man show of
one last one is I also want to send a shout out to Doug Infinite and High Power Studios, because they provide the intro music to our show. So shout out to Doug. Hopefully we see you soon. And that's it, folks. We'll be back next week on the 8th of May when our guest will be Decay. So get ready for that.
Yep. And shout out to Twilight Tone again. Gorillaz dropped, and Twilight Tone produced the album along with some others, but Twilight Tone did the majority of it, and also features Jamie Principle and Evan Everett. So Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago over everything.
Yay.
All right, everybody. Until the next show. Peace.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.
See ya.